Hey, thanks for tuning in. Today I wanted to talk about what I use to navigate when I'm out exploring. From the apps that I use to my setup, I figured this will be helpful for those of you who are just getting into this hobby and maybe looking for some direction or maybe some guidance and kind of what options are out there available to you to help you find your next camp spot or explore your local area. It's not going to be an in-depth comparison between what's out there and available because there is so many options out there, but I will talk about why I settled on what I currently use and what I like about it so much. And as an added bonus, I'm also going to talk about how I find awesome camp spots, cool viewpoints, and potential future picture opportunities as well. So why don't we go ahead and get right into it? So first, let's start with the app that I actually use. Now, I've tried a handful of different tools out there. I haven't tried all of them, but what I have tried is OnX Offroad, Avenza Maps, iOverlander, and then US Topo Maps was kind of another random one, and finally Gaia GPS. Now, I've settled on Gaia GPS as kind of my main tool for navigating in the backcountry and planning trips for a couple main reasons. One of that is trip planning across devices. I like that I can plan and sync trips from my phone to my tablet to the computer, and it's just all nice and seamless and works really great. I like planning trips on the desktop where I can open Google Maps and Google Earth and kind of look at things and plan things out and then have it just show up on my phone and my iPad as long as they're connected to the internet. The other reason that I really like Gaia GPS is how they handle downloading of offline maps. Now, it's super simple. You basically just draw a box over the area that you want to download, and then you specify the detail level that you want to download to, and you just hit download, and you can name your maps, sections, and save them, get them organized, kind of anything that you want there. Super easy and really intuitive to use as well. They also have a lot of great map layers. You can choose, their own topo, USGS maps. There is satellite imagery layers. I mean, there's a lot of different options that you can choose to download, and then you can layer them on top of each other to kind of create your own custom views to let you see the area kind of how you want to see the area. And another thing is the membership for kind of the paid version of Gaia GPS is not super expensive at $30 a year. With as much as I'm going out into the backcountry and using it to navigate back roads and things like that, that's definitely a worthwhile investment for me. Now, I know I briefly touched on those other apps. OnX Offroad is probably the next biggest one, kind of in the same family as Gaia GPS. And I think OnX Offroad has a lot of cool features, but for me, there's really one flaw that just kills it for me. And maybe I'm not using it correctly, but I have heard others voice a similar complaint, and that is map downloading. So when you want to download a section or an area within OnX Offroad, you're really limited. You can download like a really small section at a high resolution, a slightly bigger section at a medium resolution, and then like 100 square mile section at a low resolution. But I want to download that 100 square mile section at a high resolution so I don't have to start a bunch of downloads and kind of tile my map together myself. So downloading offline maps is really inconvenient for me on OnX Offroad. So I think that's something that they could definitely improve there. But I definitely like how you can see whether or not roads are closed or open, land use, things like that. Gaia GPS does have land use, but they don't have kind of some of the weather integrations or open and closed road integrations that OnX Offroad has. I think for the weather stuff, like you do have to be online anyways, so when you're out somewhere remote, it's kind of a moot point there, but that's really the main reason why I don't use OnX Offroad. Now, I know I mentioned Avenza Maps. That's something I actually use quite a bit. I use it more so on my phone. It's a free option, and you can download the USGS 7.5 by 7.5 maps on that and tile them together to kind of create your own areas. I use this on my dirt bike because there's usually a lot of old forest roads and things like that on there. Maybe you might not see some of those roads on layers in other apps, but I just like that it's free, and it's super easy to use and doesn't really require much like input from me, but that's definitely one worth checking out if you're kind of on a budget as well. So let's move on to my actual setup. Now, I wanted this to be really simple and clean, and also something that wasn't permanent. I didn't want to be drilling holes into the dash of my truck or making anything custom. I wanted something that could be taken out when not in use. That way I don't have, a big obstruction in the day-to-day driving around town, because this also is my daily driver. What I ended up settling on is this ram mount tablet holder and a suction cup mount. So this just mounts to the windshield. It's got a nice extension arm here, and then the ram mount iPad holder. I happen to use an iPad. We'll get into that in a second. And then I just 3D printed this little extension here that mounts onto this additional area for kind of like a ram mount ball. And what that does is holds my Garmin InReach Mini. So super small, lightweight, easy to use. I like that it's just, I stick it on the windshield and it's basically already set up and ready to go. Now, what I use in this is the iPad. I use the iPad because it is really smooth and fast, and it runs the app pretty well, Gaia GPS. Before that, I did have a Android tablet that I would run Gaia on, but it was a cheaper tablet and it lagged a bunch, and I happened to come across a great deal on the iPad, and by great deal, my mother-in-law actually gave it to me, so super fortunate on that. The downside with an iPad is that you need the LTE version, or I guess the cellular data version, because that's the one that has the GPS built into it. There are ways to get around that with the non-GPS iPads, but it adds more expense and complexity to the equation. You can also just buy an Android tablet, because there are a lot of cheap options on that side that have GPS built in. The Garmin InReach Mini is not something that I use for navigation, although you can pair it with your phone and certainly use it for navigational purposes, but its main function is basically an emergency beacon. It also allows me to check in with my wife or other people when I'm out exploring and I don't have cell signal. I can have preset messages programmed into this, and as long as I have a clear view of the sky, I can send that message, and I can basically let my wife know where I'm at. It'll give her a link to a map with the area that I sent basically that message from. So really great peace of mind. This is a really kind of important piece of equipment in my mind if you're going to be going out anywhere remote where cell signal is going to be an issue. You just never know when you might have a problem that would require this. And you don't necessarily have to use it for the SOS function. You can use it, like I said, for those preset messages. So if you get stuck, you can basically have a preset message that's like, hey, I'm in trouble, but I'm okay. Here's my location, and basically wait for help to come get you if you happen to be way out in the backcountry. So definitely recommend getting one of these as part of your kit. I went with Garmin because the signal and coverage seems to be just a bit better and more reliable than some of the other options out there like Spot. Just the Garmin had better reviews, so that's why I picked it up. But I picked it up on sale because it is an expensive little device. Alright, so now we're back at the house in front of the computer, and now we're going to cover how I find cool campsites, cool places to explore, and features, and cool viewpoints. Now this is a tool that everybody has access to for free, and that is Google Earth. Now I really love Google Earth because you can basically get right into an area and explore the terrain before you even get there. Get down to ground level, explore that campsite, see what the view looks like, and see how the topography is. It's really awesome for finding these cool areas. Plus they have a really cool feature where you can basically control where the sun is in the sky and get a feel for the sunrise and sunset and where the sun is going to come up. But yeah, I just really love using Google Earth. I find myself actually scrolling around on my phone in the evenings, maybe scoping out, a future weekend's trip or a new area to explore. That then combines with Gaia, and I can map out my route in Gaia and make sure that I'm going, through public lands, or that I'm not looking at a cool spot that's maybe in the wilderness or private property. But that's kind of really it. Between those two tools, I'm able to do a ton and find a lot of cool places. Google Earth is really powerful. You should definitely check it out for yourself if you're looking to kind of plan and find new areas. I'll put links in the description of all of the apps that I talked about today, as well as the parts of my setup, the RAM mount, all that stuff as well. So that's really it. That's a look at the gear and tools that I use to help me explore when I'm out finding new areas or new campsites. I hope that you guys found this video helpful. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys think. Give a thumbs up and definitely subscribe. There'll certainly be more videos to come, especially more adventures. The weather's getting a lot nicer, and I just can't wait to actually get out there and start camping more and doing more exploring, and especially more stuff on the motorcycle. But until then, thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.